Hello world, I am Curtis Simpson and this is Jectives Typography News number 12. Today is August 2nd, 2025, and I have a ton of stuff to talk about today, so I'm not going to waste much time with this intro, just going to get into it. As usual, let's start out with the events because that's the wrong button. Those are easy to go over while other people are joining the stream. Events coming up this week, we have TypeCon. This isn't going to be in Portland. Unfortunately, unlike Typographics 2025, there's not going to be anything, as far as I can tell, there's not going to be anything that is going to be available to like live stream or view online. Looks like it's just in Portland, 7th through the 9th. I've been seeing a lot of stuff posted about this. So that's why I'm bringing it up, because I would expect that you're going to be seeing these people as well as other typography, industry people, people that are into typography, graphic designers and stuff. I expect to see a lot of posts about this, though I don't expect to necessarily see a lot of content from it. But that's still cool. It's still something to look forward to. Yeah. This is TypeCon's YouTube, and the reason I say I don't think we're going to see anything from it is because if you look, their videos, they don't post super often, but 4 months ago, they posted a video from 4 years ago. The most recent content that they have on their YouTube channel is just TypeCon 2021, and that was only just recently posted. So don't expect to see any of these replays. I think there's a small chance that some of the creators or some of the presenters might be able to put it on their own channels, because I did see that with Typographics, but I don't know. I wouldn't count on it, but I bring this up because if you're going, go ahead and let me know, and you can let us know how it went. But but just so that we can all be aware of that people are going to be talking about this, and there might be some cool news to come out of it, even if we don't see the presentations. Next month, the Kernference is coming up, and this is by GoodType. This one, unlike TypeCon being entirely in person, the Kernference by GoodType is entirely online. So this one is much more reasonably priced. I guess you could say it's much cheaper, much more affordable. It's about $227. I think if you want to have the workshop pass, it's about $300, $297. These were cheaper, maybe like last month, but I'm just not a big fan of like the FOMO purchasing or the FOMO marketing that they I don't know, employ. It's always like sign up now, you're gonna miss out. If I'm being like FOMO'd into a purchase, I typically end up regretting it later. So if I'm going to purchase something, I don't want it to be time gated. I don't want it to be something that I feel like I'm rushed into doing. I want it to be something that I've thought about and actually, want to do, and not something that I was thought like, oh no, if I don't buy it right now, I'm going to miss out. I think it's kind of a not great sales tactic, and that's part of the reason why I haven't signed up for this conference yet. And I don't know that I will, but I'm just going to bring it up now. We've still got, a month and a half to sign up for this before it comes. And maybe I'll change my opinion by then, but you can see some of the speakers that are going to be present. Elliot J. Stocks, I have his book. We're going to review that. It says right there, Universal Principles of Typography. I do have that. It's going to be a few books down the line. We've got Paul Renner coming up, like I said last week. We have, and then after that, I'm going to do the Anatomy of Type by Stephen Coles. Maybe we'll get to Elliot J. Stocks after that. I think I might do something more fun between there because I have a whole stack of books, but we'll get to that. But yeah, there seems like there's a lot of cool speakers at both conferences. I think this September 17th through 19th, Kernference is going to be one that most of you will be interested in, because if you're watching a live stream or you're watching a YouTube replay, you'll probably be more interested in this online conference than TypeCon that's going to be taking place here in like 5 days, and you have to go to Portland and get a hotel, and it costs like $700 to go to, and all these things. So those are the two big things coming up. One that I was a little bit disappointed this week, which this wasn't a conference, it was just a webinar. TypeType did a webinar, and TypeType, if you don't know, makes a lot of great fonts. We'll go ahead and look at some of those here in a second. They put on a webinar. I'm not necessarily sure who it's for, though. It was a very strange sort of like introduction to TypeType. It seemed very corporate. It seemed very much like a sales pitch. I don't know who it'd be for. Other corporate people, I guess. So we're not even going to bother watching it right now. It was kind of awkward. It was these two sitting at the table, kind of giving their pitch about what TypeType is, what they can do for brands. And as you can see, it's 37 views and 6 upvotes in one day. So that's something that happened, but not something that's super noteworthy. The reason I'm going ahead and point that out, though, is because it was something that I was looking forward to. And I'm looking at Notion, I'm looking at the chat. If you see me not looking at you, that's what's going on here. I'm bringing it up because TypeType came up again, and it was with something we're going to get to in a second, I guess. An email campaign, because I'm going to go over some industry email campaigns, because there's just some weird stuff being sent out right now that I'm very confused about. The mindset of some of these places, but this is TypeType. If you don't know, go to the fonts in use and you can see huge names here. And I think that's why this webinar that we were just looking at, that's why I think this webinar wasn't for me, wasn't for most of us probably. I think it's aimed at these types of companies here. And we're gonna see this come back up here in a little bit, that I just don't think TypeType is aimed at normal everyday designers, but I do have an exception for that, so we'll come back to it. So those are the 3 events that are going on right now. Like I mentioned last week, we have Recess and a letter form archive event coming up this month as well, so if you missed out on that, I don't have links or anything this time, but go watch Type News 11, Typography News number 11, and you'll see that. I do have a cool resource for you this week. This isn't new or anything, but there was one new feature added to it, so I thought I'd bring it up. If you're familiar with Typography Guru, let me see if I can, he's probably got it linked down here at the bottom. If you're familiar with Typography Guru, this is his archive. So this is his name right here, Ralph Herman. Hopefully I'm saying that right. This is very similar to a lot of other archives, and honestly, I haven't found a huge use for it yet, but it does seem to be improving, so I thought it'd be worth putting on your radar. The thing that was added this week was stacks. So prior to this update, I guess I should point out what this website is in the first place. Letter Library, like it says right here, the type specimens of the world. It's basically a website that archives a lot of type specimens. So you could go through the gallery right here, or you could just search. I got the microphone in front of me. It's a little awkward. Paul Renner, we're going to do a video on that book. Let's go ahead and look up Futura. So we see Futura, and these are different type specimens from Futura. So let's just go ahead and go to the first one. This is Futura Schmuck. Oh no, we accidentally clicked on all of them. That's fine. Let's go back. Futura Schmuck. And you can see this type specimen. So it's pretty cool. I don't think that it's necessarily as easy to navigate as something like the Internet Archive, but that's a much bigger machine than what Letter Library has going on. But these are super high-res scans. There's some sort of membership program. I didn't necessarily pay attention to what it was, but man, if you see this one I'm talking about, you got to go. If you want to look at the big picture, you got to like zoom out, it seems like. Let's see if we can hit the arrow key. No, hitting the arrow key does nothing. So you have to like hit these arrows over here, I think. Or maybe the website's just not working that well. But these resources, I mean, if there's something super specific that you're trying to find and you want like a high-res scan of it to like look at, obviously not to do anything commercial with, but I think this is pretty cool. I think it's only going to improve, and it might be worth checking out if you're looking for type specimens for inspiration or resource or something like that. The thing that was added recently was this right here, stacks. Previously, the website only had type specimens, and that might be, like we just looked at, the scans from like old ones. It might be PDFs. So like you can download these on most websites. You know, if you go to Adele here, we can get this PDF and you can actually even download the original one. So that's awesome. It's a great way to have like a lot of them in one place. And sometimes when websites take down typefaces, then these PDFs kind of get lost to time if someone doesn't re-upload them. So it's cool they're here. They have video and marketing specimens. I think this is really cool to have them all in one place. He's not actually hosting these. If we look, these are YouTube embeds. So that's great for usability, and you can add them to your own playlists and things like that. So I really like that. Lastly, what was finally added, Curtis? What was finally added is this, the stacks. So this is related material like ads, font pictures, documents assigned to the core entries. So like I said, prior to this update, it was only type specimens exactly, like type specimens. Now he's got these extra stacks. So what is this? Is this Urbar Grotesque? So this stack of, you know, just advertisements has been added to the core entries. So I don't know how useful this website will be to anybody, but it is an extra reference. And I think it's always worth knowing about more of these. And for me, I just stick it in my Notion. And then like, if there's some day that I need these things, I know I have a resource, I have something, a place where I know that I can go look for them, other than, you know, my go-tos of just like Internet Archive or letter form archive. Let's move on to the email campaigns. I kind of stuck that resource in there without thinking about the order of this, because I was going to originally do the TypeType webinar and then talk about this TypeType email. But let's get into some email campaigns, because like I said, they were kind of strange this week. So I subscribe to as many typography newsletters as I can possibly find. And sometimes I share them on here. Let's go ahead and zoom in on this a little bit. So this is the one that came from TypeType this week. And the title of the email was "Licensing is Simple." And this has been a topic that I've gone over many times on this channel. I think every time we have an episode of Typography News, I'm talking about the licenses and how frustrating they can be at times. And I clicked on this because I was like, oh, perfect. Like, licensing is simple. They're going to make this simple for us. We've seen some very simple ones. We've seen some very frustrating ones. Here is the TypeType CCO. I'm not what the CC means, stands for Chief Creative Officer, maybe. And then we scroll down and it's TypeType's most popular licenses. Okay, let's see. Desktop, web, apps, internet marketing, video broadcast, ebooks, unlimited access, trial. Like, that doesn't seem very simple to me. Let's go ahead and look at TypeType's font licenses on here. And then you can start to see what we're really dealing with. Again, I'm going to repeat some of these, but there are some extras here. Desktop, web font, app, digital ads, video and broadcasting, video games, ebooks, book publishing, server, unlimited, trial, custom, and font subscription. So, not very simple. I think what they're trying to do with this email is like simplify it and help people to understand this very unsimple thing, this very complex thing. I don't think that this is simple, and I think that it's one of those reasons that people shouldn't use a typeface or shouldn't purchase a typeface from places like this. I have nothing bad to say about TypeType. Maybe it sounds like I'm saying bad things. I love their fonts. I love their typefaces. But these licenses are very frustrating sometimes. You can see all of these here because let's just think about objectives. Desktop, I want to be able to make stuff in Affinity Designer and stuff like that. I'm going to need desktop. Web font, I'm going to need it on my website. App, I don't have an app. Digital ads, I don't plan on running any digital ads, but maybe what if I want to put them on, what if I want to put a digital ad on YouTube or social media or something like that? Okay, so I need that one. Video and broadcasting. Now, instead of using the desktop one, like you always could, now I need another license to use for YouTube. Video games, not going to have that. Ebook, publishing. I don't know. I think I could see Jectives having a book at some point. And all of these things used to kind of be under desktop, and then there was web, but now we're breaking all of these things up. I don't see logo on here. I think we're going to look at another typeface here in a little bit where they want you to pay for a logo as well. I just find this to be very frustrating, but I do have two notes about this. Number one, like we looked at before, TypeType isn't looking at me to purchase these fonts, because if they were, these licenses wouldn't be so nickel and dimed. They wouldn't be, broken down like this. What they're looking at is seeing how they can extract the most amount of money from ASUS, AliExpress, DreamWorks, Cartoon Network, Uniqlo, Crocs, Kylie Jenner. Like, these are the people that they're looking to get all of these little, to license for every single thing. The good thing for us is TypeType is on Adobe fonts. So TypeType Commons Pro, they recently, I don't remember if they I think they did like an update to this recently. There was some reason I was looking at it in the past week. The other thing about TypeType is they have incredible specimens. So let me see if I can, oh, they don't have it on here. I think it was on their Instagram. We're not going to waste time with that because we have too much to talk about. The good thing about TypeType is that several of their fonts, it looks like, several of their fonts are available on Adobe Fonts. So if you're subscribed to Adobe Creative Cloud, or if you somehow have access to Adobe Fonts by subscribing to a single application like InDesign for $4 a month, then you can get access to some of the most popular TypeType typefaces. And that includes TT Commons Pro. So you're not getting like some scaled down version of it. You're getting you're getting 20 different fonts inside of this. You're getting all of the pro features. You're getting everything. Let's just look at how much this would cost to get TT Commons Pro. Right now they've got it on sale for 30% off. But if you wanted to buy, let's say we want to get all fonts. We want to get all 20 of them, just like we have. They've actually got 104 on here. Maybe they do have them scaled down. Pro, italic, then medium. Actually, it is scaled down. I lied. Yeah, so you're not getting everything. You can get probably everything you're going to need. Let's say it this way. I don't know anybody that needs 104 styles. You just don't. Like, there's no situation where you need 104 styles. Yeah, there's just not. Why would you need 104 different brand typefaces? So I think for most people, you'll be able to get by with italic and then all of these different weights, Roman italic and all these different weights. If you need something more condensed or condensed or expanded or something, then you're going to have to go pick these up at $43 a pop or $600 for the whole thing. But let's just go through the activity like we were going to. Let's pretend that we wanted the Pro Variable package. That's the easiest thing right now. Get the variable fonts, typically $700. We want it for desktop. We want it for web. We want it for book publishing. We want it for an ebook. We want to be able to make YouTube videos. We want to be able to make digital ads. I think video games and the app design, you probably can't use Adobe fonts for. But if we were going to do exactly, I'm kind of exaggerating because we only get 20 versus 104. But if we were going to do the same thing with Adobe fonts for $4 a month, that we're going to try to purchase this from TypeType, after they get done nickel and diming you, you're looking at between $4,600 and $6,600. And for a company like Crocs or something, that makes sense. They're going to have more web uses than this. They're going to have more desktops than this. I don't know. These teams, maybe they have 100 users, and then you're looking at 4,000 just for the desktop. My point is, the font licensing gets crazy, and it's really not made for you and I. It's just not. But luckily, we can get any other number of fonts. But if you really want TT Commons, or if you want some other type, and you want the basics, you can go snag them on Adobe Fonts. Let's move on. The next email that came out, I got a bunch of emails this week, but I have 4 of them I'm going to go over. The next one that came out that I found strange was this one from I Love Typography, and it is fonts for packaging. 10 must-have font families for packaging. I I just found this to be so strange because I don't know who this is targeted at. There's nothing wrong with any of these typefaces. There's nothing wrong with any of these fonts. There's nothing wrong with these package designs. Don't love whatever this chocolate bar is supposed to be, but these boxes here, they look nice. These typefaces look nice. I don't know what this fish thing is, but all of these fonts on here, you know, they're fine. They look cool. That one's kind of a ripoff of that packaging. Oh gosh, I can't even think of what it's called now. Anyway, the question I have is like, who is this email for? Who is I Love Typography targeting with this package design, these 10 package fonts? I don't know who would look through this and be like, you know what, I do need a font for my packaging. I'm going to choose one of these 10. No, they're just going to use their brand font probably, or they're going to use one that makes sense for their project. Maybe they're just trying to be interesting and, you know, remind people that they exist. This left me scratching my head. Again, I'm probably just not the target market for this, so maybe that's why it doesn't make sense. Go ahead and leave a comment if this somehow makes sense to you. The other thing I'll say before we move on though on this is never base your branding, never base your packaging on trends. If they're giving you like 10 trendy fonts to put on your packaging, do the opposite, run in the opposite direction, because you don't want to chase trends. You don't want to copy another brand's packaging. You want to do your own thing. You want to have, you know, brand differentiation. You want to be able to like look different than the package next to you. You don't want to have to redo your packaging in 2 years when these trendy typefaces are out of style. So just ignore this entire email when these types of things ever come to you. MyFonts sent out an email that said something about free fonts. And this is what it looks like. I guess maybe this is what it was. Unlock creativity, no cost, yours to keep. MyFonts has a lot of these on there. If you've ever scrolled through typefaces and things, sometimes they'll say like starting at $0. What it is you can get like one weight of one style of a typeface. So you can get like one individual font for like no money. Let me click on one here. This one says 4 for free. If we go to Equip, I think Equip was the one that had like a super light style on it. Let's see which one has. They don't even make it easy to get to individual styles. Here we go. Let's just look for 0. Yeah, so you can get like Equip Light for $0, but you're not going to get the whole typeface. I don't necessarily know what the use case would be for getting one single weight of a workhorse typeface like this. But if you just want to hoard fonts like I do, if you want to hoard fonts, then you could go get this for free. I didn't even bother to get this, but you definitely could do that. What I found more interesting is that there actually were a few of them in here that I think are worth getting, and so I'm going to go ahead and point those out. I made a list of them over here. We've got Skyrocket, we've got Bar Sadie, and Tipo Movin'. These are the ones that I thought were worth getting because, like I said, I don't think grabbing a single lightweight of, you know, another sans serif is worth anything. There, you know, if you're going to do that, go get a free Google font that's going to, you know, just have a ton of styles, variable, you know, technology. It's just going to be much more useful than a single free weight from MyFonts. Really zoomed in here. This is Skyrocket. Do I think this typeface is readable, legible? Either one? No, it's not. You know, what does this even say right here? Flying. I don't even know what that's supposed to say. I know it says Skyrocket because that's the name of the font, but the quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog. We know because we know that pangram. But I don't think this is a font that you're going to have a lot of use for, but it is individual. You know, it's unique. It's a display font and you can get it for free. So Skyrocket by DualType is free on MyFonts right now. Bar Sadie is the next one that I thought was kind of interesting. And this one is another display font. This one actually has all 3 weights for free. So this is one I actually do like think is worth grabbing, and I think is worth, you know, that you might actually find use for, because you've got, it's basically a, you know, it's a modern, like a Dido or a Bodoni or something like that. You know, it's a modern typeface. You get 3 different weights here. You got regular, medium, and bold, and all 3 of them are free. This is by, oh gosh, Mikulski, maybe. But it seems fine. It says Bar Sadie is a revival of a typeface based on famous lettering from Bar Sadie. I don't know what that is. The project was implemented as part of a Warsaw participation budget in 2023. Mateusz Mikulski, okay, that's where the Foundry name comes from. Malgorzata Bartosit, sorry guys. We're responsible for the new digital version of the typeface. In the first phase, the original lettering was lifted, then extended to a full set of characters A to Z. Finally, the bold style was created. The whole family is available under a free license. So yeah, these aren't new, but they are free. This one's from 2023. If I'm being real honest, I would probably go pick this up from them directly, because then you don't have to worry about the license through MyFonts at all. If it's an open source license or it's for free, just go get it from them directly. This has 366 glyphs, so it's not, it's not like a typeface with under 200 glyphs. It's going to have some depth to it, and it looks pretty nice in my opinion. So that's Bar Sadie. Lastly is Tipo Movin'. Hopefully I'm saying that right. I'm not sure. This is another one. This is a lot like Skyrocket. I think it's a little more legible than Skyrocket, but not way more legible. Let's go ahead and zoom in on this. You can see the vibe, right? It's kind of mostly one height. I kind of wish it was all actually one height, but it's not. The capital letters are a little bit taller. There's almost no ascenders on it. And then everything is going to take up the same width here. The problem with this is there's no differentiation between some of the letters. So we can see this as subscribe to Jectives right now, but look at the B's. They basically look like O's. So if you're looking at D's, B's, C's, O's, E's, the E probably has a little line through it. But like, let's look at a big zero, let's look at a zero. Let's look at a capital O. We already did the D. But yeah, you can see this isn't going to be a readable font. You're barely going to even have it be a legible font, but there might be some fun use case for it. And, it kind of looks cool and it's free. So another free font. This one, I'm not even going to, let's try to say it. Tipo Movin' CDMX by Ixip Cali. Hopefully I said that right in some kind of way. We could probably pronounce this one a little bit better. Francisco Averlano. Yeah, those are the three that I thought were worth it. I do have this original email right here linked in the description though. So if you want to check out some of the other ones that had free fonts, and by that I mean literally like a single weight, go check those out. But I think if nothing else, go pick up Bar Sadie. That one seems the most useful to me. And there are 3 weights of it, so you can kind of like get something out of it. The other email from MyFonts was, oh no, this wasn't an email. While I was on MyFonts, I found this to be much more interesting, and that is the hot new fonts. So we talk about new typefaces, new releases on here, and we're going to get to them right after this. Every week we talk about the new releases. If you want to see them without listening to me blab and you just want to scroll through these are the top selling fonts released within the last 50 days, asterisks, on MyFonts. And you can scroll through and you can kind of see what is popular. The reason I'm pointing that out is because some of these were listed on an email. Actually, that MyFonts did send another email, because I remember Cubrone Grotesque being on there. Hopefully I'm saying that right. And it was basically like the best sellers of July of the past month. And some of these were on there, and that's how I ended up looking at this. I think there's some really cool stuff on here, but I think the more useful reason to go and look at this is not because you're going to go buy new fonts every week, is because you can kind of get a vibe check on what's new, and you can see what's actually selling, what other people are doing. So these aren't just the new fonts that are released, but they're the 50 most popular new releases. Now, I said there's an asterisk there, and that is because these aren't actually new releases. They kind of are, but what they are is they're new to MyFonts. So some of these typefaces, let's see if we can find one here. I know there were some on here. Greed, perfect example. Greed, I'm like 90 I know it was one of the two. We either covered this on the first like news episode objectives or the second one. And it was when I did 2 different videos. One of them's like 8 brand new fonts. The other one's 9 brand new fonts. And then I realized I wanted to talk about more than just new fonts. One of them was Greed, and I was obsessed with this font. I really loved it. I thought it was amazing. But this is by Fatype. If you're gonna go get this, I would just get it from Fatype. And you can also look at the specimens better there. But $40 isn't bad at all for Greed. Let's see how much it is on here. Going a little off script here. I'm not sure. They probably have it on the new releases. Here it is. Oh yeah, $40 for Greed either way. But I think the specimens are much better on here. Neil Summer Hour. I learned how to say Neil's name since we did the first video. Neil Summer Hour. Great type designer. I love this font, and I love all the specimens that they put out for it. Yeah, it looks amazing, and I think if you were in the market for like $1, or not $1, like a monetary typeface, this one's really good. I know Netsera has one too. I think theirs is called like Reserve or something like that. Yeah, I think this one looks amazing. We talked about this on another episode, but my point was that this isn't actually released in the last 50 days. It's just new on MyFonts in the last 50 days. Still some value to be had in that, but just be aware these aren't really new releases. I love this one here. We don't have time to get into these, but man, I could spend all day looking at typefaces. I do spend all day looking at typefaces. Let's get into the new releases. We have Realm. This is the first 2 fonts we're going to talk about are updates on future fonts. So let's go ahead and look at this Instagram post here real quick. This is Realm. I'm looking at this because on future fonts, these aren't animated. So we're going to look at the Instagram real quick, and you can kind of see what they're doing with the variable fonts. And you can see right here, it says, with this inclusion of the typeface now comes to 14. What did they do here? They added italics. Okay, so Realm has been updated to version 0.7 and now has italics. I think this is a great looking typeface. It's very unique for sure. And now that it has italics, it's actually much more usable as a typeface. It's not just a display font anymore. You could definitely see using this as a text font as well. I think it's actually easier to scroll through this on Instagram because as we saw, yeah, so you can see like a big block of text right there. Because as we saw a second ago, these load pretty slow on here. Oh, they're going pretty quick. Oh, they do have some animations. I think they're just GIFs though, not videos. But yeah, so they've added the italics to Realm. This was Approximate type. Yeah, see these kind of load slow. But on Instagram, they're pretty quick. And I think they look great. I wasn't familiar with this. You can see they've added some stylistic sets into it, some alternatives. They've added some new ligatures to it. I was not familiar with Realm, but gosh, you can imagine the type of project that you would use this for, right? I think the name speaks to that. There's what it supports right there. I don't think all of these specimens are great. I don't think this one is particularly good. I'm not sure what that's supposed to represent, but you can imagine this being sort of medieval time, and with all of the new ligatures, the alternates, I do too. I'm gonna try to pronounce your name. You can correct me. Vibe have, maybe. Help me out. Yeah, I think that this looks amazing. The next one is also on future fonts, and this is one that we have talked about before. This is Dual Casual, and it got an update with lowercase. A little bit breaking the rules of sign painting, and that is because sign painting typically doesn't have lowercase. But when you're dealing with fonts, yes, you got it almost as good. Um, Dual Casual came out a few months ago. We talked about this on one of the older episodes as well. This is from Jen Ramirez at DualType. And I said then that this was one of my favorite releases of the year. It's a variable font. It's a sign painted. It had the italic axis on it, you know, like as soon as it was released. But now you can see in blue some of the things that have been reworked and added. So you've got some new punctuation. Looks like he's refined some of the numbers and added lowercase. So it makes it a much more usable font. Like, you know, it's kind of how we were talking about with Realm just a second ago. Without the italics, you can't really use that as a text font. I don't know that you're ever going to use Dual Casual for text, but now you could use it for small little things. Like this little blurb right here, you could probably set that in Dual Casual if if the situation was right. Now that it has lowercase letters. But this is one of my favorite typefaces that's released. $85 for like a huge type family, and now it has lowercase as well. I'll point this out before we get off of Future Fonts. The great thing about Future Fonts is that all of these typefaces, like it says here, is type in progress. They're all released prior to being like a full version release. So when these come out, this one here's a 1.0 or 1.1. So this is probably, oh no, it's actually not. Some of these you'll find that they're like finished products. They'll still be added and stuff. This one here has a star or diamond on it. So this is a finished one, Bitzer. But most of these are released as in progress. And then if you go down to the bottom, you can look at the notes, and this started in 2019. If you bought this then, the price is going to be much lower than when you get to like version 2, 3, 4, 5. Now they're on version 1.1. The price goes up. So it's $97 now, but I don't know, when it started out, it only had 5 weights. Maybe it was only $20 at that time. So Future Fonts is really cool. I would just subscribe to the newsletter, or subscribe to Jectives, and I'll point out whenever they have new releases. But I really like the independent type foundries and designers and stuff that are on Future Fonts. And I really like the operation in terms of they release a typeface like Dual Casual that we just looked at a second ago. And, it only has the uppercase. It's a cool font. You want to invest in it. I'm not sure what the price was before, but I think it was less than 85. And then you get all of the updates as they come out. So if you had bought Dual Casual prior to this update, you would be getting the lowercase essentially for free. Next up is from SilverStag Foundry. I'm going to need some more water and some more chapstick to get through this. A lot of SilverStag typefaces, I don't want to say they look the same, but he does kind of have this silver editorial here. Like a lot of them look similar to this. And I feel like Netsera, hopefully I'm saying that right, has a similar vibe to it. It's very elegant, it's very editorial. I don't think it's going to be super useful in all cases, but all of these flourishes and swashes and things like that can really add a lot of character to the typography. So I think it's worth looking at. I didn't even look at the prices for it. But I think he does a really good job with his specimens. I always, I'm a sucker for good specimens. Might even be able to zoom in on this a little more. Put myself somewhere else, maybe. Oh, shoot. There's proving that we're live here. I think he does a really great job with the specimens, and you can kind of imagine how this typeface could be used. The one drawback I would say is that this is a typeface you need to be a good typographer to use. So a typographer is just someone that lays out fonts, lays out the typography, whereas a type designer is, SilverStag, somebody that's actually creating these typefaces. These look incredible on here. These look pretty amazing, right? But if you are a beginner or something trying to get something that looks good, I would say there are even some questionable things on here with this Ms. Maisel part. Trying to make this look good if you're not a good designer or a good typographer, it might be difficult if you're someone that's new to typography and you look at this and you're like, ooh, that looks good, I want that. When you type it out in Affinity or in Adobe or wherever you're using it, it might not look how this looks. So I think this is one for people with a little more experience. Looks like $80 right there. For the complete family, that would be pretty good. We don't have time to really dig into the license on this, but I think this one looks nice. It's going to be super specific, you know, but it is that kind of editorial, luxurious vibe to it. And I particularly like this one here that has all the indents to it. You can kind of see them there. Let's just throw a bunch of big letters on here. Oh, look at those ligatures. I'm going to put some spaces between so we're not getting those, but you could see the ligatures that are going right there. Yeah, I mean, maybe it won't be necessarily as hard as I was thinking, but I wouldn't, yeah, that's interesting. I wouldn't, if you're a beginner, I wouldn't dive into this one, but if you are someone more experienced with typography, you know, beyond the beginner stage, this one could be a cool one, and it definitely has a lot of character built into it, and as we just saw, you know, it has some of the ligatures taken care of for you, so might be able to look good without a ton of work. Next up is cards. This is by the Designers Foundry. Designers Foundry is a foundry that I've only recently become familiar with, and I think their website is really fun. So I'm going to go to their homepage real quick so we can look at this. It takes over your mouse, which I don't love, but these little pointers are so much fun that I give them a pass. But yeah, I think the website looks great. I think they do a really good job with their specimens, and these are products that you can actually go buy. But the typeface we're looking at today is cards. Let me look at my notes real quick. Yeah, we've seen a lot of typefaces like this before, but I think that oh yeah, this is one of the things I thought was cool. It has the little bouncing like DVD screensaver on it. I don't file typography, but I'm glad someone is keeping track. Good on you, bro. Thank you, Omar. I appreciate the kind words. Yeah, so we've seen typefaces like this before. You know, cards isn't something that's going to blow your mind, but sometimes what you need is a workhorse font. So I think that this could be that, and I think the specimens do a decent job of showcasing what it's got going on. You can see they've got super condensed versions of it. They've got a lot of different alternates for the letters. And I think if the money's right for you, you know, then a typeface like this would make sense. You can see all the open type features that are on here. You can pull this is what I'm saying, the website's fun. You can pull this dumb little folder all over the screen if you want. But yeah, they've got all the things that you would want from like a pro level workhorse typeface, where they've got the alternate, you know, they've got alternate A's there, the alternate I's. So that can be like a little bit more legible for passwords and things like that. So you can differentiate, or if someone's hard of seeing, different A's, different G's, different Y's. Like there's so much stuff going on here that is just the thing that can make a difference between like a good font and a great font. I think they check all of those boxes. It's got a lot of character, contemporary, neo-grotesque. That's what we would call all of these typefaces that we've been looking at forever. But you can see right here the glyph count, 914. You already know that's a huge you know, font family. But they've got all their stuff broken down here. It's not quite as bad as TypeType, you know, but they do have they've got 3 different licenses here. They've got desktop, web, and an app. I think that's fair. You know, if you're going to build out an app, then maybe you need to pay extra. I don't know. I'm still undecided on all of these different licenses. But I think this looks nice, so I'm going to bring it to your attention. Just recently released. That is the Designers Foundry, and the font is Cards. The typeface is Cards. A free one for you though is Brandon Nickerson. I always bring him up, and I always say the same thing. So excuse me if you've heard this pitch 1,000 times. Subscribe to his newsletter, because every time he releases a typeface, he releases it for free for a limited amount of time. You can follow him on Instagram, but then you have to worry about the Instagram algorithm showing you, you know, his new fonts. He makes mostly display fonts. They're not going to be super in depth. You know, they're not going to be like the Cards typeface we just looked at with 900 glyphs to it. I already downloaded this. I think his typically have about 200 glyphs to it, so it's going to get you through the basics, but you'd be able to do, you know, some simple advertising, some banners and things. You can see he's got a little heart symbol in there, so it's got more than just A to Z. But his typefaces always look great. He definitely has a vibe. If we'll go and look at his other typefaces here in a second. But if we look at his different fonts, you know, he definitely has like a vibe, but I mean, for free, you just can't beat it, right? That's my point here. For free, you can go pick up Buzzer right now. You know, if you're watching this 2 months from now, maybe not, but these are the glyphs that you're going to get. This is what you're going to get. So it's a small font in terms of the number of glyphs that it's got in it, but it looks beautiful. It's a lot of fun. And best of all, it's free. So if you do miss it, I think that I accidentally, not accidentally, he has these pop-ups, these like subscribe to my thing. Like, I'm already subscribed. I don't want to see this every time. So I used ad block to block it, and it made these unclickable. So you can see he does have some bigger clients and stuff like that. But if we look at the typefaces, those are the bundles, you'll see kind of what I mean when I say his fonts have a certain vibe. They all feel sort of similar. Obviously, there's some difference between the scripts and then, the different handwriting typeface and things like that. But when you see one of these, you generally know that it's Brandon Nickerson's. And part of that probably has to come down to the specimens that he makes. But I'm a big fan. I think a lot of people are big fans, even if you miss them. Like, look at this one right now, you can get for $7. So yeah, most of them are very reasonably priced, 20, 25. So even if you miss out on the free ones, he does have some bigger ones, but those are going to be bigger families and bundles and things like that. Even if you miss out on the free ones, if you need a display font, go check him out, but definitely subscribe to the newsletter because you'll be able to get free typefaces almost every week, at least every other week, at least every month. You'll be able to get a nice free display font from Brandon Nickerson. And this week it was Buzzer. So this is linked in the description as well. So no affiliates, no sponsors on the news, just typography because I love typography. This is from, I don't know if this is Fatype or Fatype or Fatype, F-A type. So they released States Grotesque. Let me check my notes again. There's so much going on that I have to look at my notes today because there's just too much news to talk about this week. I wrote that it's definitely unique, but for me, it's not deep enough to match the price tag. Oh, okay. Yeah, I remember this one now. There's only one weight on this, and that's what really does it for me. There's medium grotesque, and then there's medium rounded. I think this will be a typeface that maybe gets developed further, and that's why I'm even bringing it up, because I do think it's a unique, cool looking typeface. It's a cool looking font. I mean, it's not, like I said before, like it's not going to blow your mind or anything, but I think that it's going to get like the basics done. And there is kind of that fun play between the rounded and the regular version of it. But let's check how much it costs, since I said that the price doesn't match for me. Yeah, I mean, to get the family of two styles is 550 Swiss francs. I think in US dollars, that's probably like $700. That's just charge what you want to charge. But for me, that's too much for a single weight of a font. So this looks cool. I think it's worth paying attention to, and if there are updates and a lot more weights end up getting developed, then I'll bring it up again. Maybe there's something that I'm missing out on this that I'm not understanding. I'm not sure what this pressure thing is here. Maybe there's some kind of variable access on this that I'm missing out on. But a single weight font for 550 Swiss francs is a pretty big price tag in my opinion, but it does look nice. That's going to be the reason why I'm bringing up any of these at all, because they look nice. Next up is Monitor. This is by ZetaFonts. Hopefully I'm saying that right. I'm not sure if it's ZetaFonts or ZetaFonts. They're doing a similar thing as what we saw with Future Fonts, and that is that these are beta versions of the font. So these are in progress, and presumably the price will be cheaper now than it would be in the future, but 100% you're going to get all of the updates. So as you might notice, if you're familiar with typography, if you're familiar with like historical sci-fi typography, you're going to notice that this looks like Euro style. This looks like microgramma, and that's what it was inspired by, Euro style microgramma. But they're saying that this is, I could probably just read this for you real quick. They're saying it's a contemporary version of it that's distancing itself from vintage curves. Like, it's a little more square, I guess. Says it's more rational, more angular, stripped of nostalgic softness. I love the nostalgic softness of the original, but if you wanted something that was similar to those, but maybe designed now, and you wanted to get a discount on that because you wanted to buy it while it's still in beta, this might be one worth looking at. Monitor. It looks like it's got 60 styles in the full family. It might be something, if you're building a big brand and you wanted this to be like your brand typeface, maybe wait for it to get out of beta, but keep it on a short list maybe, because it does seem to be well designed and well developed. The one complaint, the one critique or frustration that I'm gonna have with a lot of typefaces that are being released is always the license. So I'll get that to in a second, but you can see here what I mean when I'm saying it's well developed. They don't have quite as many OpenType features as we saw with some of the other fonts, but it's also a much more, what would you say? It's much more limited in what it can do, just purely based on the aesthetics of it, because it is so like blocky. There's less you can do with some of these things, but they have the most important stuff. You can see they have the case sensitive form, so that's going to give you like the @ symbol and the parentheses and the brackets and things. Got some stylistic alternatives for the G's and the A's. That's always nice to see, because this A here isn't quite as legible as this one here, and when you're comparing it to the O, can we type an O? Yeah, we can type a little bit. So if you have that on versus off, you can really see how that can make a difference. Tabular figures, old style figures, old style with a microgramma style, Euro style typeface is strange, huh? That's weird. But if you're writing like a big block of text, which I don't know why you would, then I guess that those could be useful. Like I said, though, the license kind of gets me down on this a little bit. Let's go ahead and go to the buy portion so we can see. So at first you look at this and you're like, oh, cool. Like, it's 50% off because of the beta, $200 for this 60 style, font, and it's a variable. So like, presumably with the one variable font, you could work your way through all of these 60 styles, because you could make it thicker, make it thinner, make it, wider, italic, all of those things. You can do everything with one variable font, and then it's going to be amazing for kinetic typography like they're doing in the background here, so that you can do these sort of animations and things like that in a program like After Effects or Cavalry, or yeah, probably those two. There's probably something else. But you see this and you're like, cool, $200, even if it was $400, it seems well developed. But then you get the same problem where they want you to license for desktop, license for web. So that's another $200 if you want an app or an ebook. But for me, I'm going to put this on YouTube. So then I have to choose this, and then I have to choose that it's an online platform, another $200. Oh, if I want to make the logo, now we're looking at what, another $1,000 or something. And depending on the size of the company, it's actually not bad for under 3. So for me, I have under 3. So we're not getting hit with too much there. $100 for the logo, I can swallow that pill. But I don't like being hit with all of the different licenses. Put it in a package, make it simple. But I do love this font, and that's why I'm bringing it up again. I'm going to repeat myself often, but you can see condensed, narrow, standard, wide, extended, and then they've got the oblique. Are they calling it italic? Yeah, they're calling it italic. It looks like a nice new interpretation of microgramma or Euro style. So if you're into those typefaces, you're into that like sci-fi aesthetic that we see this often used for, I think it's a pretty good typeface to look into. And it's only going to get better, I would hope, at least, because this is in beta. It's 0.02. So you could buy it now for half off, for 200, per license, but we'll just use their numbers. You buy it now for 200 instead of 400. And then with all the updates, it's only going to continue to improve. It looks like a pretty robust typeface as it is. Don't love the licensing, but it's not the end of the world, probably. The next typeface is Move by Studio Feixen. I'm not sure if I'm saying that right or not. Feixen. We'll get to it. I wanted to shout out Fresh Fonts, though. This is a website and newsletter. I don't subscribe to their typeface of the month, but they do have one. But I do subscribe to just the free newsletter to see what they're putting out there. And I clicked on this because it said fonts for dark mode. And I was like, oh, cool. Like, it's going to be a bunch of fonts for dark mode. It's not. And you can see that even here it says, thrilled to share this. This issue spotlights 1 or 2 fonts specifically designed for dark mode interfaces. I mean, if you're saying like 1 or 2, I think if it's 1 or 2. So if it was 2, you could just say a couple of fonts, but I think it's probably just 1 font. And it's Y, or UI, which we looked at last week. Where's it at? It was the Brazilian typeface that we looked at. Oh, right here, UI. I really liked this font. We're not going to look at this again. If you want to see this one, I think it's a very, very nice typeface by a Brazilian Foundry, Naipe Foundry. I'm going to pronounce it like it's Portuguese. Naipe Foundry. I think that's great. And they have a specific dark mode, which I think is really cool and something that we're probably going to start seeing more of. But what I ended up seeing on here at the bottom was this here, Move. Move variable by Studio Feixen. I'm not sure if I'm saying that right. You can scroll down to the Zeta family, but it's too expensive. Oh. Zeta collection, order type Foundry. Let's look at it. So we'll come back to Move here in a second. Let's look at this one. This is by Order Design. I don't think I clicked on this one. Yeah, I mean, this looks nice. Oh, I like the, so before when we were looking at, what was it called? Monitor, when we were looking at the microgramma type font, they had what they were calling italic, but what I would typically call oblique is just when a sans serif is slanted. It's not really italic, I don't think, but this has like a true italic on it. So you can see, oh, I see they've got, is this like a super family? Yeah, they've got the sans and they've got the serif. Yeah, this does look nice. Vibe have. Good call. Yeah, this looks pretty nice. Yeah, and if you guys want to follow along, I have everything linked in the description, so you can go to all of these as I'm going to them too, or just go look at them instead of watching me. I have a really good video at the very end of this that I'm going to watch, so if you have to go watch the Adobe video that's at the very bottom because it's ridiculous. But yeah, this looks like a really nice, and they've got all the open type features on it. Yeah, good call. This is very nice. Zeta. I'm not sure if it's Zeta or Zeta. I'm gonna have to come back to this one. Let's just go ahead and pin this so I don't forget later. But what I wanted to look at here was Move, and this is Move variable. And I think when I did my review of Thinking with Type by Ellen Lupton, I mentioned in that one, I think that variable fonts are really going to be, the big innovation of, our period for typefaces, like back in the day, sans serif, and then modern, like these things are what we see in history books and we see in type 101 books. I think variable fonts and crazy stuff like this are what we're going to be seeing from this period of time, you know, from like the last decade, basically. This will be the defining feature, in my opinion, of type history. And I'm kind of scrolling slowly through this. I know it's kind of, let's use the scroll bar. Maybe it'll be a little smoother. I know it's not super smooth to scroll through this right now, but this typeface is crazy. It's on this weird grid. So it's on this grid. That part's not weird. It's on this grid. So the fonts move around a ton, but they don't actually take up any different amount of space when you're using them. And I did download the trial for this and I wanted to show you guys, but I have so much that I want to talk about that we're just going to have to look at their specimens, which is fine because they look great. But they've got these two axes basically. So they've got 1 and 2, and it makes 4 different like styles of the font. But then as you move on each of these axes, you can create this kinetic animated typography, these animations that are just like super impressive. And there's tons of alternates for all of the letters. And I don't even know. I haven't fully wrapped my head around this typeface yet. if you can't notice right now, as I stumble through my words. But you can see, this would be something similar to like Font Awesome, how they turned like their typeface. You know, they put all of the icons and stuff into a font basically. But with these two axes, the variable font axes, you can do crazy stuff like this, like actually tell the time with a font or do these, you know, weird spirals and stuff like that. You could do loading screens with your font. I think there's a ton of potential with this. And even further, I feel like this is, you know, like when PlayStation or like Unreal Engine or something, they come out with their new version of it and they have like the demo. I feel like this is almost a demo for what variable fonts can do. And I know there are a ton of different variable font stuff that's already going on, but this is just so insane. This is like when the new Unreal Engine releases or something, you're like, oh wait, that's possible? Like, I don't know that this typeface, because it has so much character, I don't know that this font would be good for most people. Because it is just so characterful, it looks so much like one thing, that if a brand uses this, then it's immediately, and then another brand uses it, they immediately look exactly the same. Whereas Helvetica is pretty neutral, you know, it just blends into the background. Everyone can use Helvetica and no one really notices. If everyone was using this, it would be like confusing about which brand was which. So what I'm trying to get at here is that I feel like this is more like a demo, more a showcase of what is possible with variable fonts, because this is just mind-blowing to me. Maybe it's not to you, but the fact that this is built into a variable font, and then this could be animated in something like Calvary or After Effects is wild. And presumably they're doing all of this with, yeah, these are like actual, I think they're just doing this in browser. I don't think that these are actually a bunch of videos that are in here or anything. So, I mean, we don't have time to go through all of this, but this is linked in the description. This is Move Variable by Studio Feixen. Hopefully I'm saying that right. I was not familiar with them prior to this. Next up is David Johnathan Ross, and this is DJR. This is his font of the month. I'm going to click on a couple of these real quick. If you're not in font of the month, this is what it would be. Basically, he designs a new typeface, new font every month. I would say typeface, but I think it's probably just a font because you're getting like one weight typically. New font this month was Gimlet. What was this? Gimlet Wide, Gimlet Sans. Gimlet Sans was the font that he designed back in 2020. Gimlet Sans Wide is the new one. And there wasn't much about it. He says the typeface began as a single black weight back in 2020, and I chose to extend it to wide, extra wide, and extended widths that I'm sending you today. Okay, so I guess we got 3 of them in the font of the month this month. Yeah, David Johnathan Ross, incredible designer. His font of the month, that's not it. His font of the month club, you know, I'm not sure how much it costs, but he'll send you a new font every month. I'm bringing this up because Gimlet is actually part of a bigger type family. So this is the one that came free with it, but Gimlet Sans or Gimlet was the original, and this is the super, super, super deep typeface. So I don't necessarily know what the point is. I guess it's just to point out that this is what was released this month, and then to relate that to the fact that he has more than just like these typefaces that he's sending out like once a month, because he's probably one of the most impressive type designers out there right now. His studio is, or I mean, his foundry is DJR, and his name is David Johnathan Ross. David Johnathan Ross. Yeah, I want to make sure I was saying that right. But Gimlet here you can see is a serif typeface that was released as like a full family. This is the free one here, or the one that came in font of the month, and it was Gimlet Sans Wide. This one, I don't know how to say. This is by Pizza Typefaces, and it was Nuqtra. Let's click on this. I accidentally linked the email instead of the actual font file. I don't know if it's supposed to be, I don't know if the Q is supposed to be silent, if it's Nuqtra or if it's Nuqtra. This is another one where, you know, we've kind of seen these grotesques 1,000 times, right? But this is based on Den. They're saying ding here. But this is based on Den, so it probably looks pretty familiar. Subscribe to Objectives. But it looks nice. I don't know that this is, I'm not sure what you would, I'm not sure why you would choose this over another version of Den, because to me it's not necessarily doing anything super different. But it does look nice, and if you wanted something a little bit different, I didn't check on the price of it, but if the price makes sense, the license makes sense, maybe this would be a good version of Den for you by Pizza Typefaces. I think who this is really going to be for is someone that also needs Cyrillic and needs Arabic. Because there aren't, you know, they have, what is it called? Nodo Sans, the Nodo that's like every font system in the world, basically. But most typefaces don't have multiple language systems. So if you wanted something that was similar to Den, and you needed Arabic, and you needed Cyrillic, and you needed Latin, this might be the move. We've all seen Den though, you know, we know what it looks like. And this seems like a fine version of it. I would say they could definitely improve their specimens, because these websites that just have, you know, lines and lines of text that you can change, maybe utilitarian, but not super engaging. But yeah, it is what it is. Lastly on here, this isn't necessarily something, I don't know how valuable this is going to be. I was accepted into Production Type's beta program, and I don't know how easy or difficult it is to get into this. I think I linked this in the description. I linked this specific page, but if you want to get in there, you have to like go to unlock this instead of these parts here where you can download the trial. It'll say like unlock this font or something like that. I downloaded these as well, and I really wanted to show you this Cardinal Tech because I really liked this one. But I'm pointing this out because Production Type does have this beta program, and you can see the typefaces before they're actually released. So this is kind of similar to Future Fonts, kind of saw like what we saw with Monitor earlier, where the fonts are in progress, they're not fully released, but you can get a discount on them and, you know, help develop the project basically. Because if you are into a typeface and you want to see it further developed, probably purchasing it while it's in beta would speed that along. That would be my guess anyway, because it does showcase interest, and then you get the font at a cheaper price. But I loved Cardinal Tech, and I did download this. I wanted to show it to you, but we'll just look at it here for now. You can kind of see what it is, right? I don't know. It just has amazing retro vibes though, especially the italic here. Let's increase the leading here a little bit. I don't know why I like this so much. I don't know if it reminds me of old like video games or if it reminds me of like old computers, but it just looks amazing to me. And it's in this beta program by Production Typefaces or Production Type. So if you wanted to kind of test out some of these. You can download all of the trials for free, and it does help them, because if you use the trials, play around with them and stuff, maybe you can give them feedback on it. But just in general, it's cool to see like what's coming in the future, what they're working on, because these will be the fonts that we're talking about in a year or two or whatever as they actually get released. A font that a lot of people are talking about right now that we don't have access to. I'm going to give a quick shout out to Creative Block. Not a huge fan of Creative Block. I'm not like a Creative Block hater, but a lot of the stuff they talk about isn't. A lot of it's silly, and this is no exception. This article is not necessarily worth reading, in my opinion, but they're talking about this font right here. This is Rosalia. Maybe it's Rosalia, but Rosalia, we're going to say it like an uneducated American, Rosalia. And people are annoyed that people are using this on their stories on Instagram, basically. It came out a few weeks ago, and this post saying, please stop using this font, has all 176,000 likes. I don't spend enough time on Instagram that I even notice this. I've never seen this, but this was published July 1st, so I guess like a month ago. This came out. It's a collaboration with someone else I wasn't familiar with, Rosalia. She's got 11 million, almost 12 million subscribers on YouTube, so maybe some of you are familiar with her. I'm not. When I listen to the music, it wasn't for me. That doesn't mean it's bad. 12 million people disagree on YouTube. But it's kind of cool that this collaboration took place with Instagram, and there's a font that's basically inspired by her handwriting, and they did all of this work to make it work, and they have actual alternates and things like that. So it's actually got OpenType features, and there are these secret little hidden characters where if you combine, so you can see the OpenType features right here where they will adjust and things like that as you type. But you can see some of the secret Easter egg symbols and stuff that you can create if you combine letter glyph combinations, like plus 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 gives you the cross, star 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 gives you the star. It's kind of fun and playful. Does it look good? I don't know. I think every typeface, haha, bad publicity can be helpful for sure. Yeah. Good to see you again, Daryl. I'm probably saying your name wrong too. Help me out if I'm saying it wrong. Good to see you again. Yeah, I would have never watched, the YouTube video had I not seen this. And maybe someone else will end up liking the music because I'm talking about it now. But I think the technology and the concept and stuff behind this is pretty cool. I don't know. I mean, I'm not going to, again, I'm not the target market for this. I'm never going to be using this. If I made an Instagram story, I wouldn't use it. But I can see why someone would. We've talked about this before, but in a day when everything is so polished and clean and just full of AI slop, this, even though it's not, this feels more human. It's based off of her actual handwriting. It feels more authentic. It feels more, tactile because you've got kind of that marker scratching to it, or paint, whatever those streaks are. It feels like it was done by a human. So I can understand where the place is for this. And, but it did get ratioed because this has 57,000 likes on it. And then the one saying stop using this has 176,000 likes on it. But it's cool regardless, just to see typography kind of getting a little bit of spotlight, even among, normal people and not just us type nerds. So those are all the new typefaces. I do have some articles and stuff to go over, and then we're going to get to the weirdest video that I've ever seen from Adobe in my life. This was a project. This was like a personal project by Alphie Wheatley, another person that I'm just now learning about. But he posted about this on Instagram as it was like a kind of a work in progress. Let's see if we can get zoomed in a little more. And then It's Nice That wrote an article on it this week. Let's go ahead and look at this because I think this is the easiest way to look at it. And I can get a drink while we stare at this animation if I move myself out of the way. basically, he created this to, after each soccer match or football match, depending on where you're from, he created like a 2-page spread for his soccer team. I don't know, this is Brighton, for his team, and it had the scores and it had some little details and stuff, but it's basically like a personal project, and he put, you know, different typographic designs on each spread, and it looks pretty cool. I don't necessarily know, you know, I think he just did this for fun, and I'm not necessarily sure what value there is in us looking at this, other than a good reminder that sometimes we don't have to do stuff for any specific reason. We can just do things for fun. We can just do personal projects without all the rules of a client or the expectation of like needing to get views on YouTube right now, or needing to get you know, likes on social media, or worrying about earning money from it. Sometimes you can make the most progress doing personal projects like this because you're free from those sort of constraints. You know, the other side of that is like, you do have to have some sort of constraints for your project. For him, it's like, I'm going to do this every soccer match, every football match, do a 2-page spread, and that's what it's going to be. But you know, he did this personal project. It might seem silly at first, but then he's on It's Nice That right now, and like Daryl pointed out, you know, he's getting publicity. So whether you like this or not, publicity is publicity, and it can all help. And maybe he'll get, you know, clients, freelance clients, or maybe he'll get hired, or you know, maybe someone will hire him to create some sort of magazine like this. Maybe Brighton will hire him for some reason. But I thought it was a cool project, and I thought it was a cool reminder of going out and doing personal projects just for fun, because, you know, the most progress, the most interesting things I think that I've ever made, I'll say some of the most interesting projects that I've ever made were ones that were literally just like fan art of like The Office or The Good Place or something dumb like that, or just playing around in Blender because I wanted to learn Blender. Those types of projects were always turned out to be the ones that I was most proud of looking back. When I scroll back through my old like personal Instagram, it's usually stuff like that that's the coolest. This one, oh, it looks like we're getting blocked from some of these. This one here is an article by, I'm not sure if it's Autopian or the Autopian. Let's go with Autopian. This says, this popped up at my Google alerts, and it says, this is the most unexpected instrument typography on a military vehicle ever. And let's go ahead and zoom in a little bit on this. I just thought this was a fun little history thing. This military vehicle, where was this at? Shoot. Let me see if I can find the country. I knew a minute ago. I knew when I posted this on Blue Sky this week, but now I can't remember where it was. Soga. Shoot. Okay, well, they've got these Volvo. So this Volvo truck was combined with this Volvo taxi, and it created this Volvo TP21. And it was, what are they calling it? It was like a radio command car for the military between 1953 and 1958. And the instrument panel, they're showing a Jeep here, and they're being like, this is what you would expect to see. And then they show the one for this Volvo, and it's this crazy Art Deco inspired instrument panel. And you can see this is the taxi here. And I just looked this up. Oh, let's see if we can get this in the background. Oh, we can't get a good view of it. Well, let's resize it. Hold on. We're live. We're live. Okay. So you can see right here, this is a taxi. And since they combined those two cars together, basically they just didn't change the dash. So even though this is in a military vehicle, they're using the same dash from the taxi. And it's just super unexpected, super out of place. But it's pretty fun. The next article I wanted to look at, this is actually the last article. Then we're going to look at I'm going to give you some video recommendations to go check out after you finish watching the news here. This is for My Chemical Romance. This is by Blambot. And I have some bad feelings about My Chemical Romance because I went to one of their concerts in Las Vegas, I guess in like 2010 or 11, and Gerard Way, the lead singer, was like spitting into the crowd on people. I found it to be very rude. So I've never gone to another concert and rarely listened to the music, but it's hard to deny that he's very creative, very impressive in terms of music. And he also created the comic that became The Boys, right? Am I right on that? I think I'm right on that. He created some comic. But this typography here by Blambot was done for the Black Parade. I'm not going to read the whole article. It is linked in the description. But what I thought was cool is they created an entire language that could be like decoded by fans later on. So this in 2024, started in 2024. You can see up there the dates on there in marker. It was almost a year ago, 11 months ago. They were building out this fake language and created a whole typeface for it. And he goes through the whole process. Blambot, oh shoot, I should have looked to see the name on this. Maybe it'll be at the bottom. Whoever runs Blambot goes through the whole process of like sketching it, going back and forth with Gerard, going back and forth with the guys from My Chemical Romance, having it being used in like the music video to announce the tour. You can see it in the background of some of these. And then once the tour started, they reached back out and were like, hey, we want like an actual Latin alphabet that we can really use for stuff. So they built out an English Latin alphabet for it, and built out, a regular typeface that they can use. Then they wanted a hybrid for it that was kind of a mix between the two. I don't think the hybrid looks that great. It looks like some of those bad fonts you'd get on DaFont or something like that. But I think the project in general is pretty cool. And I really like that he gives us kind of a behind the scenes with it, because he goes through the sketches, his entire process, talks about how he made it in Illustrator and then brought everything into Font Lab, which I think is really cool because I'm not a type designer. So I would like to learn to design typefaces, and seeing what kind of tools people are using is always interesting to me. But this one here, this hybrid, I don't love that, but I do love the project kind of as a whole. So I guess his name is Nate. Let's see, Nate Pecos, something like that. Blambot. It's linked in the description, but I think it's really cool. I wish I could remember the name of the video game right now, but I remember I played a video game recently where they had an entirely fake alphabet. There's been a lot of them. I think Hollow Knight's a great example of it. But a lot of video games create these. It's cool to see, it's cool to see a band going and doing it, even if I have bad feelings about them now. Because again, like the Rosalie thing, I think it's cool that people are being exposed to typography, type design, and stuff that maybe normally wouldn't have. And they're probably paying just a little bit more attention to it because of being a fan of this band or being a fan of Rosalia or, whatever. Going to open up all three of these here at the end. Oh, shoot. They're probably all going to play, aren't they? Yep, because they're all YouTube videos. I'm not going to say anything bad. What can we say? I subscribe to Pimp My Type just so that I can so I can be like up to date and understand what he's talking about. But I don't necessarily find like this to be for me particularly. But he goes over Apple Liquid Glass, and I think he does a good job of demonstrating what's working with it and what's not working with it. And for typography specifically, there's a lot of stuff that just doesn't work with it. And this is linked in the description, like everything else. But I think he does a good job of talking people through this who might not necessarily know a ton about typography, but maybe want to learn. Let me see if I can say this more concisely. He goes through all of the Apple Liquid Glass from the point of view of a designer working with typography, and talks about what works and what doesn't. And if you wanted to create something similar to this, how you could do it in like a more accessible, better way. So maybe this is worth checking out if you're interested in, hearing someone talk about Apple Liquid Glass. I think it's been done to death, so that's why I'm not doing it, but I do think that he did a decent job of it, so that's linked in the description. And I think he does a good job of explaining how it could have been done better, and maybe it'll be improved. This video here was super fun. This is Elliot is a cool guy. He went through, I'll just let this play in the background. He went through and talked about every single fake brand in Mario Kart World. I don't have a Switch 2, so I haven't played this, but I played old Mario Kart games. I played old Mario games in general. If you've ever played any Mario, you'll be familiar with these characters. You'll be familiar with these. Daryl, I started with Corel Draw and Type Tool 3 by FontLab until I could finally afford FontLab. I think it was $35 to $45. Oh, cool. So I know that Glyphs has like their mini version. I hadn't thought about checking out like the Type Tool by FontLab instead. Maybe that's something I could play around with too. I know you told me before that they do have discounts and things like that sometimes. So maybe that could be an option until I get to where I feel like it'd be worth the investment. But this Mario Kart World video, it's like 33 minutes of Elliot looking at every fake brand that's in Mario Kart World. And it gets a little repetitive, but I think it's really cool and it's super comprehensive. He literally goes over every brand that you can find in the game and then talks about the designs. I wanted to bring this up because I personally, like when I was in college, my dream job was to be the person creating the graphics on Saturday Night Live. I wanted to be the person creating the real and the fake graphics and stuff for it. I moved on from that dream. But then later, I remember playing Infamous Second Son, and it's set in Seattle. And I noticed all of the fake brands they had in the video game, and I was like, oh my God, like think about, there's some graphic designer somewhere that gets to make all of these fake brands. And I kind of forgot about that for like the last 10 years or whatever it's been. Until now. And Elliot's talking about this. I think you're kind of getting the idea of what it is if you're watching it. But he's going through, he's got them all broken down by industry. He's looking at all of the posters and all of like the billboards and the neons and the stickers, and it's crazy. It's super in depth, and it's so much more fun than having like real advertisements in video games, like some of like the NBA and NFL games and stuff do, or some of the racing games. But like Mario Motors, I don't know. I found this to be really fun and really, I guess, wholesome as Nintendo can be. Something that I'm actually going to put my headphones on and we're going to listen to it together is going to be this video from Adobe. And this is the thing we're going to end on. This isn't new. This is from 1991. But I just saw it like 2 days ago, I guess. And it's the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen. We'll watch like 2 minutes of it because I don't want to make you watch all of it. I don't know. I have 20 minutes. Maybe we could watch all 10 minutes of it. Let's just get it started. You can get a feel for it, and I'll decide in the moment if we're going to finish it or not. This is Adobe ProScript, the language of business from 1991, and it's so ridiculous. It's like you're watching an episode of Twin Peaks or something. It feels like this isn't real. I can't believe that this video is actually real. Let's see if we can hear it. Okay. Real 1990s one. But this part's just so weird.
The language of business is sometimes expressed in words. Other times it may be numbers, images, or even colors. Just as we put no constraints on our thinking, we should accept no constraints on our ability to communicate.
What are these people doing? Like, why is it filmed like this?
The purpose of trying to combine type and graphics and photographs all together is a recognition
and then they switch
of
to
the
black
fact
and white.
For
and they're talking to these guys in like a diner, it looks like.
People have felt that was the effective way to communicate. It's not just words, it's not just drawings, it's not just pictures. It's the combination of all of those that makes communication more effective on the printed page, and now on displays and television screens as well.
We want to recreate that electronic form of paper. In other words, we want the electronic analog to paper. Paper has been a very effective invention of mankind, and the display of information on that media has been enormously effective. And what the computer needs to do is help that process.
Look at that.
PCs, Macs, workstations, mainframes, we need them all. And we need them all to work together.
I can't understand why this was done.
People
or
want
why
to communicate among themselves. People want to work in work groups together. They want to print on any device. They want to communicate files and information.
They keep switching back and forth between the black and white like this. And then they actually switch to these guys that are like working in an office and they do these sketches.
Ha! I've got it!
What?
Here's the plan. Take this one down to accounting, print it out on the laser printer. Take this one up to the 5th floor, print it out on the color printer. Take this one, run it through the plotter over in manufacturing, and zip this one over to the art department, print it out at 1200 DPI.
But wouldn't it be a lot easier if we just standardized on PostScript?
The best strategy takes advantage of current technology and at the same time leaves room for innovation.
I don't know.
Conducting and arranging your business, you don't have to.
Maybe I'm the only one that thinks that this is like the most ridiculous thing ever. I did post it on Blue Sky though, and other people seem to find it like equally weird. I'm just gonna play a few more clips while I close out this video. But like, why is this guy standing like right over his shoulder while the other guy talks? Then they flip back and forth between the black and white. It's just the weirdest 1991 video that I've ever seen in my entire life. And I was alive in 1991. I guess I wasn't watching like Adobe Business promotional videos, but I'm not even sure what the context of this would be. Like, then they go back to these sketches and stuff. It's just such a strange video. I started watching it as I was falling asleep the other night, and I woke up and I was like, that had to be a dream, right? Like that wasn't real. And luckily I, could go to my YouTube history and what are these people doing? I don't know. It's linked in the description though. They're basically talking about Adobe PostScript. It's a sales pitch. But man, is it weird. I found it to be really funny though. I found it to be kind of fun. Maybe you'll find it entertaining as well. I don't know. I think if you know someone who uses Adobe or is at least familiar with Adobe products, I think sharing this with them, perhaps create it for a job fair to recruit talent. Yeah, maybe. I don't know. It seems like they're trying to sell PostScript, which I understand there were like the different type file font file formats. There were the different font formats. We kind of had like the font war between PostScript and OpenType and stuff like that. And then there was another one before that. Yeah, I'm not old enough for this. But yeah, maybe it was for something like that. Maybe it was for like new hires, or I don't even know. Or maybe it was for like salespeople to like learn how to sell this. It's bizarre though. Like between the black and white, like the weird surreal videos where there's just like people talking while the other people stand still, like, and then you've got the little sketches and stuff. Let me see if I can show you. Like these people here, it's almost like a play. Like if you went to a play where the people freeze and one person keeps talking. Like this guy's talking and the other people are just frozen there like a painting. It's so strange. It might be my new favorite thing though. Oh, you couldn't see. I always do that. Let me switch back to the screen cap so you can see this one. I always do that. Okay, here's the guy talking. He's talking and the other people are just kind of like standing here frozen. I don't know. Maybe I'm the only one that finds this super entertaining. But yeah, we're gonna get out of here. I hope that you guys enjoyed. It's nice to see a few familiar faces again. I like to see you guys coming back. Every week it seems like the channel gets a little bit bigger. I think we're up to like 550 now, maybe 551 subscribers, and it feels like, when we posted the last book review, we're just hitting 500. So it's exciting. It's exciting that other people are interested in typography, and I appreciate all the kind words. like I said, I have an interview for Excitable coming out. This book, I literally have like 2 pages left in it to read. And then after that, we're going to do The Anatomy of Type by Stephen Coles. So a lot of stuff planned. And every Saturday, we'll be here doing the Typography News. So I appreciate the kind words. And I'll see you guys next week. Bye.